Okay.
You are on.
Okay, the meeting of the Committee on Legislation, Rules, and Policies of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Present.
Director Leonard,
Present.
Director Simpson,
Present.
Director Taylor,
Present.
and Chair Peterson.
Present.
We have 5 present.
The chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes. Para las personas que desean escuchar la Junta Escolar en español, por favor de llamar al teléfono 312-626-6799 y marcar el número de código 608-130-5362. Una vez más, el teléfono es 312-626-6799 y marcar el número de código 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Gracias. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public participation as possible, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. We'll now move to our items of business. As stated in the public notice, individuals who wish to speak were required to register in advance. I ask those waiting to speak to please remain on the platform until you are called upon. Although we are on a virtual platform, we will still follow Robert's Rules of Order, which dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair. Also, any questions or requests, including those from board members or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way of addressing them. As always, written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Written comments may be submitted to the board via the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Finally, for a listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting https://milwaukeepublic.icboard.com/. Chair. Okay, now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Item number 1 is action on a request to revise Administrative Policy 6.33, Clinical Education, Student Teaching, Student Administrator, and Field Placement Students. The recommendation is that the board approve the proposed revisions to Policy 6.33 as detailed in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present the item?
Good evening, Chair Peterson and members of the committee. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. The first item on the agenda tonight is a request to revise Administrative Policy 6.33 as it relates to student teachers, practicum students, field placement students, and interns. In addition to the technical revisions, this item allows rising teachers to fulfill requirements while working in Milwaukee Public Schools. Before answering any questions, I would like to turn it over to Adria Maddaleni, Chief Human Resources Officer, to provide some additional information. Adria?
Yeah. Chair Peterson, members of the committee, Adria Maddaleni, Chief Human Resources Officer.
The revisions being proposed to the policy tonight are critical to the furthering of MPSU's mission of providing MPS employees career growth opportunities and establishing a sustainable teacher pathway that will increase the diversity of our teacher workforce. Requiring employees that participate in one of our teacher pathways to take an unpaid leave of absence to complete student teaching is cost prohibitive to the employee. If an employee has taken the steps to earn a bachelor's degree and become a teacher with us, we should support them in their student teaching efforts. Therefore, we are hopeful tonight that you will take the first step in approving the revisions that we are proposing tonight.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any public testimony? Is there any public testimony on the subject?
Mr. Chair, we have no public testimony for tonight.
Okay, committee, do you have questions or comments on this matter? Director, Vice Chair Gokul Gandhi.
Thank you, Chair Peterson. I would just like to say thank you for the administration for bringing this forward. I think it's really important, as Ms. Malini said, that we support a teacher pipeline. We know we have so many vacancies right now, and so making sure that we have talent in our backyard who have already worked with our students in a pipeline and supporting them financially to make sure that they're continuing that pathway is really important. So I am really happy to see this policy revised and brought to this committee.
Other comment? Yeah, Director Simpson.
I believe Director Leonard was before me. I saw him do this.
Okay, Director Leonard, go for it. Thank you, Director Simpson.
Great earth-shattering news here. First of all, I do want to thank Mr. Harris and administration for bringing this forward. Very expedient. I'm glad we jumped on this quickly. I appreciate the work you've done on this. This will no doubt be highly supported by all the people that are going to take advantage of these opportunities, and we need them badly. And this is probably the fairest and wisest way to do this. So thank you very much.
Now, Director Simpson.
Thank you. Yeah, I just was looking at it, and it also, so yeah, I agree with everything my colleagues have said so far. It also seems as if it's a little more streamlined, that there aren't as many maybe steps that have to kind of go through a process prior to approval. I was just wondering if anyone could speak to that.
Administration.
Yes, Chair Peterson, Director Simpson, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. Yeah, it was really a collaborative effort pulling in the various departments to make sure that there wasn't any red tape. You know, we really wanted to make sure that our employees who are students in programs working towards their certification, we didn't add any additional stress. And so it's really a collaborative effort with organizational development, the procurement department, and human resources, and some universities, just getting all of the input so that we could have a clean document that would not be a barrier for our employees.
Any follow-up? Director, let's see, Gokul Gandhi, Vice Chair Gokul Gandhi, I'd like to pass the gavel to you so I can make some comments. Did you hear me, Director Gokul Gandhi?
It looks like her computer is frozen. Oh,
And
she's logging back in. There she is.
Director Gokul Gandhi, would you mind taking the gavel so I can make some comments?
I apologize, my internet was being crazy. The gavel is passed.
So noted.
Chair Peterson.
Yes, I completely support this policy change and amendment. I just have a couple of questions. One, I know that when it was stated that this is part of our Grow Your Own program, but correct me if I'm wrong, it would also apply to someone who is working for, anybody who's working for MPS, but is, say, at a four-year college, UWM or Alverno. Is that the case, administration?
Chair Peterson, members of the committee, Adrian Madeline, Chief Human Resources Officer. Yes, it would apply to any employee that is in any program So if they're happen to in a program to get their bachelor's degree and need to do student teaching, they can do it here and they can keep their position.
Chair Peterson, follow up.
Follow up, yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Now my next question is a little, maybe it's getting into the weeds, but if let's take a paraprofessional who's working in a K-5 school, but is seeking certification in a high school. How might you handle that? I'll give you one other example. I know there's a secretary working in a K-5 school who has gone through all her needed coursework, and all she lacks is, I believe, a student teaching experience. Those are two sort of unique examples, but how might that be addressed?
Administration.
Chair Peterson, members of the committee, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. Yes, we know we have many employees in different roles within the district that are engaging in professional growth. And so we're going to work with those individuals. We've already started the conversation of what that needs to look like. Now that, if we have the opportunity to move forward with this policy, I think we can really get our feet on the ground to really get those plans in place. At this point, most of our employees that are in programs at this time, based on preliminary review, do not need to leave their current schools. And there's a small population that may, and that just means we need to have that plan in place before they enter that student teaching in the spring or fall of next year.
Chair Peterson, any follow-up?
Yep, just one last, that's great to hear. I'll just also comment, and I'm sure you're completely aware of this. It's obviously having somebody student teach is a full-time job. I know I've had many student teachers in my career as a cooperating teacher. And so the schools will have to be aware that if Mr. Smith is going to be student teaching for that semester, he won't be in the 3 classrooms he was originally assigned to, to help out. And so just, I assume that that's going to be understood by the school administration, and they'll have to make arrangements as best as possible. And I'd be curious, any comments? Thank you.
Chair Peterson, members of the committee, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. Yes, we are looking at all of those scenarios to ensure factly that those schools that would lose a person out of that classroom would also have that support, whether that would come in through substitute, placements for that period of time. But we definitely know that we don't want to leave a classroom short. And we want to make sure that the student teaching experience is authentic, so that the person isn't running back and forth trying to maintain their regular duties while trying to get the experience of a student teacher. So that has been thought out. We know that may be a situation, and we are planning accordingly to make sure that we have systems in place to ensure that there is support in all of our schools.
Chair Peterson, any follow-up?
No.
Okay, I'd like to pass the gavel back.
Okay. Is there any further comment or questions?
So noted.
Are there any further comments or questions by board members?
I
See Director Simpson.
I think Director Gokul Gandhi and I had the exact same thought. Yes, I'm just moving approval of administration's recommendation on this item.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved by Director Simpson to approve this item of the administration's. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Simpson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to revision of policy 6.33 as attached to this item. On the motion as read into the record. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Director Taylor?
Aye.
And Chair Peterson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, which is action on a request to revise and reaffirm board governance policies. The recommendation is that the board approve the revisions to board governance policies attached and reaffirm those to which no revisions are necessary as part of the 5-year review process.
Will the Office of Board Governance please present the item?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The item that is before you is in accordance with the board's work to review its board governance policies every 5 years. And so bringing this item forward, what we have done is updated the board governance policies to include the items of which the board has already approved. So in that there have been changes to other policies that affect the board governance policies. We have updated that information and is presenting that to you for your consideration.
Thank you. Does the administration wish to make any comments?
Chair Peterson and members of the board, thank you. At this time, the administration does not have any comments.
Madam Secretary, are there any public testimony for this item?
Mr. Chair, there's no public testimony on this item.
Okay, do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard?
Just a point of clarity. So I looked on one section of it and it showed different bargaining units, and some of those bargaining units were crossed out. Out of curiosity, how did that process take place? Why is that the case?
Office of Board Governance, want to respond?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the updated policy reflects those bargaining units that are certified on the state's website.
Any other comments or questions by board members? Director, Vice Chair Gokul-Gandhi, excuse me.
I'm curious about the 2.09, the loaned executive. Can you give an example of when we've taken advantage of that? What is the process for choosing a loaned executive? I'm just curious to know about that specific policy.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Director Gokul-Gandhi, I believe you're speaking on an item on the next item.
You're
rather
right.
than.
Just kidding. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I understood my comment.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions by the committee members?
I move to revise and
Vice Chair Gokul-Gandhi, please.
sorry. We're really putting the cart before the horse today. Chair Peterson, I move to approve the revising and reaffirming of board governance policies.
Okay, is there any further debate on this matter? Director Gokul-Gandhi, could you take the gavel for me for a minute?
Sure. Gavel has been passed. Chair Peterson?
Yeah, I just want to note that I think some members of the committee might not have had a time to read through all the policy recommendations, and just to note that when it comes to the full board, if somebody has a concern, you're able to pull that item, and then we can have further input from the Office of Board Governance or the administration or the board committee. So I just wanted to let the people know that, because I know it was a part of it was a little last minute, I would say. So,
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, yes, the policies are presented to you in a package. If you find that there is a revision that would need to be made, or if there was some other action that the committee or the board would like to take, the item would be set aside at the full board meeting, and then those changes could be made then before posting them and making these updated policies public. Relative to the timeline, we did publish in accordance with the agenda. However, there are a lot of policies here, so I certainly understand. And this is the standard practice of bringing all board governance policies to you at one time because they kind of intersect.
Mr. Peterson, any follow-up?
No.
Okay, I pass the gavel back.
So noted.
A last call for comments by the board. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Gokul Gandhi's motion to revise and reaffirm board governance policies as presented in the attachments to this item, Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Peterson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, which is action on a request to reaffirm administrative policies. The recommendation is that the attached policies be reaffirmed.
Okay, will the office of, is it the administration to present any comments? Yes.
Mr. Chair, it is kind of a co-presentation.
Okay.
The items that are before you are policies that are being presented in accordance with the 5-year review process. And so what happens during that process is there are policies that are on the policy docket for review that have not been reviewed in the last 5 years. We present that information to the administration, and our Jill actually in our office works with the administration to determine if the policies are still useful, relevant, and if they are actually active. And so these are the policies that have been reviewed and are still active, and we are bringing those forward to you for reaffirmation.
Thank you very much. And now administration, any comments that you wish to make?
Chair Peterson and members of the committee, after reviewing the outlined policies, it has been determined that the attachments are still appropriate and do not require revisions at this time. This item is seeking to reaffirm the administrative policies as attached, and we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Do committee members have any questions or comments for the administration or Office of Board Governance? Vice Chair Gokul Gandhi.
Oh,
yes, I'm sorry.
I'm going to resubmit my prior question about loan executives, Chair Peterson.
Okay, so could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. I just wanted some clarity on what it is, if we've used it, what the process to procure a loan executive is.
And administration, would you like to answer that?
Chair Peterson and members of the board, the process will be just like we do anything with a contract with another agency around an agreement. We will find the individual that we are looking to bring in. And I understand in years past, we have worked with like the United Way to bring someone in to like, we either would like to combined giving campaign is one of those kinds of things that we have had like a loan executive for in the past, but it will handle, operate the same way we do with anything else around making sure that all the documentation is in place.
Any follow-up question, Vice Chair Gokul Gandhi?
No, thank you.
Are there any other?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just as a little bit of additional information, how that works on the reverse is that the district was awarded an $8.5 million grant from Safe Schools Healthy Students, and there needed to be a district executive on loan to the federal government to run that project and to be able to have some of those exemptions away from the typical employment process. And so as a person who was on loan, that actually works in the reverse depending on what the agreement is for the work.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarification. Any other comments or questions on the part of the board? Okay, what's the wishes of the board?
I move to adopt, move to approve and adopt the administrative policies.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Gokul Gandhi's motion to reaffirm the administrative policies as presented in the attachment to this item. Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Peterson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
There being no further business before the committee, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you all so much.
Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Yes.
Good night.